Everyone knows about the horrors of the Sandy Hook Massacre, but few talk about the questions that still remain unanswered.
Every single resource that he needs to investigate this heinous crime.
We combine cutting-edge artificial intelligence technologies with in-depth analysis of historical documents from major criminal cases. Our goal is to deliver consistent, revealing, and thought-provoking content. Subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comments. How did Adam Lanza spend years researching mass shootings and discussing violence in obscure online forums without raising any red flags? And what led his mother, Nancy, to believe that taking him to practice shooting would somehow help him connect with the world? These often ignored details raise troubling questions about the failures that allowed such a devastating tragedy to happen. Today, we go beyond the headlines to explore hidden truths, missed warning signs, and the lessons that still need to be learned from one of the darkest days in American history. December 14, 2012, began like any other day in Newtown, Connecticut, a small, peaceful town often described as the perfect haven for families. Parents dropped their children off at Sandy Hook Elementary School, never imagining it would be the last time they'd see them. At 9:35 a.m., the silence was shattered by gunfire. Adam Lanza, a 20-year-old man with a history of severe mental health issues, entered the school armed with a semi-automatic rifle and other weapons. In less than 10 minutes, he took the lives of 26 people, including 20 children aged 6 and 7. The tragedy ended as abruptly as it began when Lanza took his own life at the scene. While the devastation was immediate, the questions and debates that followed are complex and continue to echo. To understand what happened, we must take a closer look at Adam Lanza's life, his motivations, and the systemic failures that allowed him to act without intervention. Adam Lanza was no stranger to those around him. He grew up in Newtown, attended local schools, and, for a time, seemed like an intelligent yet socially isolated young man. However, as the years went by, he became increasingly reclusive, living under the care of his mother Nancy. Adam had been diagnosed with multiple mental health conditions, including Asperger's syndrome and obsessive-compulsive disorder, but also exhibited signs of psychosis that were never formally diagnosed. His mother, though dedicated, often failed to grasp the severity of his condition. What few people know is that Adam spent years consuming and cataloging information about mass shootings. Investigators later found detailed records of his research, including maps, statistics, and even online forums where he discussed previous attacks. This behavior should have raised red flags but was never identified as a threat. Nancy, trying to find a way to bond with her son, believed taking him to shooting ranges might help him come out of his shell. Tragically, the firearms she legally owned would later enable him to carry out the attack. In the aftermath of the massacre, much of the discussion focused on access to firearms. Adam used a Bushmaster AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, legally purchased by his mother. This detail placed a critical spotlight on gun legislation in the United States. How could someone with such a clear history of social isolation and mental health issues have access to such a lethal arsenal within his own home? This question remains a divisive issue in American society. But firearms are not the only part of this story. Failures within the mental health system were equally devastating. Despite displaying alarming behavior and increasing isolation, Adam never received continuous or effective treatment. The lack of coordination between schools, mental health services, and his family created an environment where he went unnoticed until it was too late. The repercussions of the massacre were felt far and wide. Sandy Hook became a symbol of grief but also of inaction. While the incident renewed calls for reform in gun laws and mental health resources, little substantive change was made. In the years that followed, other mass shootings occurred, each reigniting the same cycle of outrage, promises of action, and eventual stagnation. For the families of the victims, however, the tragedy is deeply personal. 20 children, full of life and dreams, and 6 educators who gave their lives to protect them, were taken in the most brutal way imaginable. The pain and mourning of these families serve as a reminder that statistics on gun violence are far more than just numbers. They represent stories of lives cut short. As we examine the details of Sandy Hook, one question lingers. What needs to change to ensure tragedies like this never happen again? Were Adam's warning signs ignored by a society that avoids confronting the discomfort of mental health issues? Or is the ease of access to dangerous firearms the true issue? We invite you to reflect. Could the Sandy Hook massacre have been prevented? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this video informative, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories that help us understand the failures and challenges of our society. Together, we can continue exploring these issues.